Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Ty Johnson, and we're glad that you tuned in with us today. Today we have a special guest, and we're going to jump right into it. We have Monique Perry from Women Against Abuse. Monique, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, John.
Your title again is
Community Educator.
Community Educator for Women Against Abuse. Now, well, Monique, I'm going to dive right into our subject matter. First of all, let me say welcome to the show. Monique, how did you get started in this work? Did you go to school and what did you work for? What did you finish or did you meet somebody or were you at a job fair? How did that come about?
No, I'm originally from Detroit. I went to college at the University of Michigan, and when I graduated, I got hired to work at a school in North Philadelphia. And I worked there for a few years. I noticed that a lot of my students had a lot of issues in their relationships, a lot of abuse, and so it kind of got me more interested in working with that demographic in that community. I knew that the job that I was working was only a 2-year program, and so I was looking for other work, and I wanted to work in that field, so I applied directly to Women Against Abuse. I got hired to work in the legal center. I worked there for 2 years, and then I switched departments, and I'm currently in the education department.
Now, explain to me, like you're talking to a fifth grader, what is a community educator? What does that entail as it pertains to women against abuse?
So a community educator is someone who goes out and educates the community at large. So I do presentations, workshops, and trainings with police officers, nurses, doctors, anyone that comes in contact with someone who's been hurt or who's been victimized or been a survivor of domestic violence. I train them what to say, how to respond. I also talk to 5th through 12th graders about healthy relationships, how to be happy in their relationships, how to love their partner, how to recognize when their partner isn't loving them and is hurting them and is abusive, and what they can do about it.
So, women against abuse, I know that many people know the work that you guys do on a day-to-day basis, but for our viewers who may not know as much about women against abuse, what type of person would come to your agency for help?
So our agency, I think in order to answer that question, maybe I should start with what our mission is and then how we fulfill the mission. Because it might give you a better idea as to who would do that. Because there's no actual demographic of a domestic violence survivor or victim. It could be any age, it could be any race, it could be any gender or sex. Someone who lives in a rural area, a suburban area, it could be an older person, a younger person, a black person, a white person, someone who's heterosexual, or someone who's in the LGBT community, right? Anywhere along there might end up on our doorstep, and that's because of these types of services we provide. So our mission is to, obviously, in terms of Philadelphia, to be leaders in the end towards domestic violence, but it is also to provide quality, compassionate, non-judgmental services for survivors or victims of domestic violence in an atmosphere where we're fostering self-respect, independence, and empowerment. And so it's a very broad mission, right? And a very big mission, right, to end domestic violence in Philadelphia. But we do that with a multitude of ways. And so we provide emergency housing. We provide permanent supportive housing. We have the education department where we do community education. We have an advocacy department. We also provide legal aid. We also provide trauma-informed behavioral health services. And we also provide hotline services or hotline crisis intervention services. So we do a lot of things. We're a very comprehensive domestic violence service provider. And one of the largest in the nation, actually. In a year, we will service over 15,000 Philadelphia survivors of domestic violence.
Now, I just want to backtrack for just a second, and I want to derail and get back on the train. You mentioned gender, because you're just by your very name, women against abuse. Is it common for a man who says I'm in a relationship where I'm being abused by my partner or being abused by my wife, or is that common for?
Absolutely. Our agency is called Women Against Abuse, but we have male clients. Now, when I talk to people, they say, then why do all the services seem geared towards women? And often that's because, frankly, in terms of numbers of victims or survivors, women tend to be higher numbers of victims, or at least also. Now, men doesn't mean that they aren't abused. They absolutely are abused, maybe not at the same rates as women. But also part of that is we don't actually know the numbers for victims because often victims don't come and talk to someone, especially with men because they still live behind them being victims. Aren't you strong enough to protect yourself? And the idea is that domestic violence is physical. We know as a service provider, domestic violence isn't just physical, it's emotional, verbal, sexual, psychological, also financial. So there are other ways to abuse your partner outside of physical abuse. So men can absolutely be victims. And we also have clients who are males. And some of our clients who are in the shelter have children who are boys and kids.
Because I know that I got off with that for just a second because I know someone might be watching this program who thinks that only women are abused, and that's not true. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So you service both genders. Now, let's get back on the train and go down the road a little because I'm wondering, when you say you service 15,000 people annually, that must cover the entire city. So because you mentioned that the person can be from Chestnut Hill, or they can be from an area which is not typically an upper middle class neighborhood.
So even with servicing 15,000 Philadelphia survivors, we still have a lot of survivors who are not getting serviced in Philadelphia. On average, the Philadelphia Police Department may receive annually 140,000 or more calls for domestic violence. Which, I mean, when I say founded calls, I'm talking about the police have gotten the call and responded and concurred that it was domestic violence. So in those situations, imagine 140,000 people calling the police saying that they're having some issues with their partners, and we're only servicing 15,000. We also only have one shelter in the entire city for domestic violence. There are a lot of people who are not getting the services that they need. Recently, the city gave us a grant to open a second shelter in the city, which is amazing, and we're so grateful to have the opportunity to have more beds and more spaces and to support more survivors. But is that enough for the population that we have? We still have a lot of work to do in that area.
Does someone who comes to your agency from start to finish, and when I say finish, as you walk them through the process, what might a person look like who is in an abusive relationship as they transition to come out of that and become whole and use the term survivor?
Absolutely. So transitioning, I mean, let's be clear, for everyone the process may look a little bit different because it may not be easy. And for a lot of people it will not be easy. On average, it takes a victim up to 7 attempts to leave an abusive relationship. So someone might call a mother who's having difficulty with her husband and she's been physically abused for years, may need to get access to a shelter, may decide, you know what, I want to leave, I need to get out, and may call our hotline services and may talk to someone, and then afterwards say, if I take the kids, what's going to happen? I haven't worked in 4 years. I don't know if I have any money to support us if I leave with the kids. Will my partner let me leave with the kids? And so there are all these things that they have to think about in order to make that transition. We're there to help them along the way with all of those things. We want to help them with housing, legal aid, with all of the barriers that might prevent them from leaving. But at the end of the day, it's not survivors or that victim's decision on whether or not to leave. And so they may say, I'm only going to call to talk to someone today. But in a month from now, they may call and say, you know what, I'm ready to leave, but I don't want to get hurt when I leave. How can I leave safely? We'll do a safety plan with them. These are things that you need to plan to leave safely, and then we'll work on getting them housing and getting them places safe for them and for the children. So it may take quite a bit of time. Everybody's journey looks different. For some people, it might be a month. They might be able to get out, and they might be able to get to safe housing, and they may be able to get the resources. For other people, it may take years. Maybe they have a custody case, and we're representing them in custody with the children. Or maybe they are still looking for housing. Maybe they're looking for a job before they leave because they want to be more financially independent, so because they're dependent on their partner. Or maybe their partner, in terms of legality, is very dangerous for them to leave. And so they have to be very careful about how they plan to leave. And so the transition can be different. But I can tell you this, that after people leave and they have made the decision to finally leave for themselves, the level of relief, there may be some discomfort about the emotions that they're experiencing in between being in this relationship for too long, maybe guilt, maybe a little bit of shame for saying, how could I allow myself to be in this relationship? But once they're out of that relationship and they see what it means to love themselves and to love their children or to love someone else a lot more than their partner did, their lives are drastically changed.
And I guess when you see those changes, it's probably personally rewarding for you as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I tell people all the time that the work that I do is so fulfilling that I love my job. And my job may not pay me $1 million a year, but my job is definitely fulfilling. And this is an I go to work every day and I feel proud with the work that I do, and it keeps me doing the work that I do. I see changes every day in my students' behaviors. So they don't change overnight, but when I work with students in 10 weeks from when I first saw them, they can say, Miss Monique, do you see them emotionally abusing me? Did you hear what they said to me? They're trying to bully me. They don't have that language to use before they took my class.
That has to be, that personally one, but I would assume that to many people that you educate about abuse, you're sort of like a guardian angel, somebody who comes and is able to communicate that information to them that is life transforming.
I get people who respond, and I get lots of positive feedback from people who say, you know what, I sat in a workshop and I heard what you were saying, and I'm wondering if my relationship is not right or something. And I tell them, you know your relationship better than I do, you tell me. And sometimes people take my classes, and instead of recognizing that they've been abused, they recognize that they've been hurting by the people. And they say, you know what, I think I might be abusive. I might need to rethink some of my behaviors. And I say, well, only you know that. But if you do need some resources, I'll give you some resources. I'll give people resources.
That's great to know. I'm sorry to cut you, but continue the great work. Please do not go away. We'll be right back.
Hey there. Yes, you. I'm going to give you a snack quiz. Oh, don't worry, it's not going to count toward your grades. Okay, let's see if you're required to register with the Selective Service. Okay. First, are you under 18 years old or over 25? Are you on active military duty or enrolled in West Point or one of the other service academies? Are you a student in an ROTC program at the CINDA, Virginia Military Institute, North Georgia College, Norwich University, Virginia Polytechnic, or Texas A&M? That's it. You passed with a perfect score of 0. Any of these situations would have been an exception to the law requiring young men to register with the Selective Service. Virtually all men in the United States must register when they turn 18. Go to www.sss.gov and register.
Change the skin they were born with and say they die for darker skin. Sadly, some actually do. Melanoma is the second most common cancer in teens and young adults, and 1% dies from melanoma every hour. Change your thinking, not your skin. Stop tanning. Learn more at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
He always made sure I brushed my teeth.
It's only smart. That's cool.
You always told me to dream big.
To all of these parents who took the time to make raising their children their most important job, we'd like to say,
thank you.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart. Thanks, Annabelle.
This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Welcome back to Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Todd Johnson, and today we're talking about a great agency that does great work in the city of Philadelphia, Women Against Abuse. And their website address is womenagainstabuse.org, and the hotline number is 866-723-3014. Thank you. And as you can see, we have a guest with us today, Renee Norris-Jones. Renee, welcome to the program. And you are an actual survivor.
I am a survivor of domestic violence.
And could you just tell us your story?
I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I've told my story since I've been out for 35 years. Still impacts my life. I currently did back to abuse because they were very tough. I went to Rural Against Abuse 35 years ago around the same time they started. So back then, the Legal Center, all of those things that are there now were not there. They were a small agency. Don't even know where I found them. But I was in a very abusive relationship. This was in the late 70s. And back then, there were no PSAs that were kind of looking to hear about this. Society, and that's what I always say, you stay with me, you stay with me. At some point, I remember going to my father, who was my hero, and I just looked at him, and he said to me, what did you think marriage was? So, I say that because the number one question after 35 years later is, why did you stay? Why did you stay for 7 years? There were scarce resources, and I went to Women Against Abuse back then, staying might have been in the field. So I ask people if your life is in danger, you're going to be here right now, with the clothes on your back, without access to your car, your job, your keys, your bank account, where would you go, what would you do? Could you survive? So, and at the worst of it, I've had a gun to my head underneath the pillow, so I would slip out during the night. I've had too many blackouts to mention, dislocated hip bones, fractured cheekbones. Women Against Abuse helped me get to safety 1,600 miles away to Houston, to a shelter bed. So it's definitely a deadly time. The most dangerous time for a woman is when she's me. My sister in 1999 was killed for a woman's suicide. She was killed by her husband and killed herself. So it's dear to my heart to go back to the pain because it's therapy for me. It helps to educate others because there's so much misinformation out there about domestic violence, and hopefully it moves out to kind of victims of domestic violence. I know it was like the first time I went to a shelter. Yeah, it was like, oh my goodness, there's other people who are just like me, because you are isolated. Similar to rape victims, there's a lot of shame that comes with it. So, Women Against Abuse is about empowering women. Not once did they ever talk bad about me, like something, or, don't go back to negative, you have to go back, because it's about what you do. So, it's about empowering women. So, they empower.
From the time that you first went in the late 70s, and then fast forward to now that you're 35 years.
Yes.
Do you still, I heard you say that, do you still talk to other women who are in?
I do. I do a lot of interviews like this, and when they're live, usually afterwards, I have a lot of women who just queue up. And they come up, and when they get close to me, as they're giving me a hug, they say, it happened to me. It happened to my sister. It happened to my mom. This is the secret society. When I started working consistently with Women Against Abuse and volunteer capacity programs about 3 years ago, I had to make sure that when I have to do an outreach, that I was not therapy session the next day. Because 35 years later, it was so dramatic that I'm suffering from PTSD. So, little things contribute. I cannot watch a domestic violence movie, no television, any movie. I can't do it. My partner and I were watching a few weeks ago, Senator McCain's story. He's a POW. I have frequently described my journey when I was going through domestic violence. I felt like a POW. That's how bad I was. And I probably got 5 minutes into the broadcast and was like, oh my God, I can't watch this. It was bringing up too many horrific tales of my own. Sometimes I can talk about it in 5 minutes like we're talking, and other times it just hits me.
Well, your story is a remarkable one. For our viewers who may not know your full story, could you share with us where you are currently now in terms of your educational journey?
I left home at 16 because I knew everything was all 16 when I was 15. High school dropout. Met my husband when I was 17. He was married by the time I was 18. And I was alive. I don't see why I'm currently working on my PhD. And that was one of those goals that I set for myself at the lowest point of my life. When you just are so low and so down that you can do nothing but fantasize how to get out of here. And how far you can go.
and I've done work for women with abuse issue. It's called something else. But it keeps getting back. It's about getting back. So rewarding. I want to say rewarding. It's very rewarding for me to make time out of my day to go to outreach or something like that. Community awareness around that. So a couple boys in this women with abuse. That's about people that the most fulfilling time is when I come out. Again, like I said, your story with a 16 years old high school dropout in an abusive relationship, and when you fast forward to taking out, working on your PhD, giving back to other women, like being a full opportunity. I hope so. So, do you ever kind of switch off? Because I always want in terms of, you might see somebody in the supermarket who might walk up to you and say, hey, I was in a relationship. I remember maybe you spoke in a place where I was, and I just wanted to give you that. I've had phone calls because I do so many outreaches with women against abuse. I've had the newspaper calls or the TV station calls and what someone saw or read your story and they want to reach out to me. I'll take the phone. I'll call from my number phone, from my local, and I'll talk to them because I know that wasn't enough for me. I mean, I could ensure that I'm not going to do it. But sometimes they just want to talk to someone who I always want to call the hotline number. Sometimes they don't want to because they're so comfortable right here with this. And I tell them, the people at the hotline are the experts. It's like you're coming to me with heart diseases every day. I'm going to get a heart attack. I need you to go to the cardiologist. Right. So I send them to the hotline. But I know what it's like to have that connection with someone who's calling from something that's so abuse. I listed to describe, I know Monique was very descriptive with the types of abuse there are. Physical, financial, emotional, so that when somebody goes through, is going through an abusive relationship, you mentioned earlier how you're not able to watch a movie about domestic violence without getting emotionally involved. But however, for those of us like myself, I would think that movie, TV, and those types of programs would make the general public aware, people like myself who miss. And so, because I know I watch Color Purple, I think of that. Right, I think of that. And I think of those type of movies where abuse was the pinnacle of a shift in that person's life. They went from being abused to being, as you said, a survivor, and then working their way out of that. Those are miraculous stories. So when you hear stories, when I sit next to someone like you, I feel like I'm sitting next to somebody of greatness because I think it's something within a person that can take a lemon and turn it into lemonade. So again, I attribute that to religious abuse from Karen, and folks look at me and go, well, you seem like a victim. This Renee is not a victim. That was another victim. This is a totally different Renee. I live by that never again. My partner and my daughter are a testify all years, so that's by never again. And they say, I see it everywhere. Because when you go through something like that, you say never again. And in saying never again, you might look for it anyway. Maybe not to the extreme, getting to it sometimes, but I have to make sure that it's never again. But I never find myself in that position again. And when you get abuse, I guess you would be a poster woman, so to speak, or somebody who just has come full circle and has kind of evolved from this to that. You know what, and my story is on your website along with other stories of survivors, and they are very touching to watch because you kind of get a glimpse of what they went through. And that really does help. And I can't even imagine that that was available to me years ago. I'm thinking about my own self now, so as I listen to you. I grew up in a home where my dad never even raised his voice on my mom, so the whole thing of a man getting on a woman was sort of foreign to me. Something I watch a movie or hear some of my friends talk about some of the relationships that they have been involved in. And that's very important, and that's why the work that Monique does is so important, because I grew up in the same kind of household. Didn't know what's going to happen. It happened to me out of the blue. We were together for a year. It was date night. It was Friday. I remember standing in the mirror putting makeup on. And the conversation was, we go for Chinese, we got Mexican yesterday, let's go for French. That was the conversation. It was just as easy as that. And I woke up on the floor. read a statistic somewhere on that where they say that most people who commit abuse with others, most of the times they come from an abusive home. They say their father perhaps abused their mother, their father abused a significant other in their life, and they have seen that and duplicate or kind of do that same behavior when they get relationships.
Well, you know, I think that's true with most things with kids, whether it's domestic violence or whatever it is, whatever, you know, I live in an area where our parents say, do as I say not to do. Right. So domestic violence is no different from that.
Well, again, I'm honored to have met you. And I say that wholeheartedly just to be sitting next to someone who's a survivor and to see your story on video. It's just absolutely amazing.
It's not for me. Thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you for your continued giving back to others. You are not only a survivor, but I will also label you as a champion. So thank you for being on our show today. Now, coming to that hour, we have to say goodbye again. I'm Todd Johnson, your host. When one's on the right and others on the left, when we reach towards the middle, we begin to break it down. Until next time, love somebody and be nice to everybody. Bye for now.